thank you very much for joining us again and welcome back to our channel. Today we are looking at a very important question. Someone sent me an email and asked me, I am 50 years old and I'm planning to move to Europe from Africa. What's the answer? For me, it's so simple. Like I've said on this channel, Europe is the richest continent in the world, but Europe is not for everyone. On this episode, I'm going to give you 6 reasons and 6 things you should consider before making such a move. So it's up to you. So I hope that before you make that decision at your 50, you must have Europe. I encourage you to watch this video from start to finish so you know what awaits you ahead. Are you ready? Let's go into. The first thing you should consider while moving to Europe when you're at 50 years old, it's just so important that I cannot emphasize on this number 1. There you have other points that will come along, but the first point I'm going to focus on will be the residence permit. You need to do your research on what residence permit is living in Europe. Without a resident document, I assure you that it will make your life difficult in Europe. You might not succeed in several ways. That means it could take you 10, 20 years to be able to sit up and stand up onto your feet and to do things that you love to do. Without a resident permit, you won't be able to do a lot of activities. You won't be able to work. You cannot have a job. So to point out, you cannot travel freely. You're scared of the police. You are scared that you will be bundled up and repatriated to your country. Now, my advice in this stage is for you to consider what it takes to secure a residence permit in the country that you are heading to. This is just so important. This is a fundamental of what you should consider. These basic principles on how to secure a residence permit in the country you're heading to, it's so important because without a clear residence permit, you don't know where you're heading to. Now, just having a residence permit is not a solution. You want to find out on what type of visa you have. Is it going to help you to secure a residence permit early? Because a standard residence permit in most countries in Europe could take you between 5 years to up to 10 years for you to secure a residence permit, depending on your status, the type of visa you're coming on with. So a lot of Africans don't have this information while coming in. They are being told that everything is sugar and honey, everything is fine in Europe. So once they get here, they find that this is so challenging for them to stay in the continent. So it's difficult. So the more you understand the residence status of where the country you are heading to, you do some research. You don't just get a visa and then thinking that when you get to Europe, things are going to be rosy for you. It doesn't work like that. So my advice to you is to tackle the issue about residence document, how you plan to live in that country, what the extent of your visa. Are you coming using, this is separate from people who are coming for studies. It's separate for those who are coming for marriage. It's separate for others who have come in as an expat. So I'm talking about people who plan to just travel to Europe. So it's important for you to have that understanding. Coming on a tourist visa and planning to live in Europe, it's going to be a challenge for you. So figuring out how your residence permit will help you is the first thing. The second one, which if you think the residence permit is difficult or it's going to be a challenge, let's listen to the second one. The second thing we're going to talk about here is your age. Remember, you are 50 years old and you've grown up in another culture, which is completely different from where you are heading to. You have to fit into. Your age is working against you in this case. So while you're in that European country of yours, the country you're planning to travel to, you need to figure out on how you can fit yourself into the system. You have to integrate, which is a very common word being used. You have to integrate into the system, the European country that you're heading to. How do you do that? By you coming in, if you want to learn the language, there are a few countries in Europe that speak English. I mean, apart from the UK, you do have some other European countries that just have English, like the Netherlands. I think that most people speak English there. But in other countries across Europe, every country has its own language. So first of all, you need to come in, then you integrate yourself. You need to go back to school, see how you can learn the language of that country. Now, the question here is, are you ready to do that? Are you ready to commit yourself for you to become fluent? Because just coming to a country, of course, you can come with the separate skills in terms of your ability to learn language really fast. However, the bottom line is you must be prepared that you are 50 years old and you've lived in a different culture. And are you ready to immerse yourself into this culture? Are you able to integrate really fast? This will take you at least 3 years to fit yourself into, to learn the language really well, to speak it, to become fluent. It could take you up to 5 years. And in that 5 years, you're turning 55 years old. And driving that below, it would take you a little bit more if you are not really comfortable to grasp the language to a certain extent. So it's important to know that your age is working against you. I'm not saying that you being 50 is not, you're not going to have some skills to learn, but I mean, 50 years old coming into this challenging system, you have to be ready to bury your neck down and then being able to learn the language, having some skills that can allow you, employers can look at your 50 years. So remember, you haven't built any profile. That's another thing. So you go into any interview, any job, they want to see your background and other stuff like that. So your age alone is really working against you big time. The next thing that you're going to focus on here, we are looking at that. I'm going to give you advice if you plan to travel to Europe when you're 50 years old. We're looking at the jobs. The jobs here are also the number of jobs, depending on which country you are heading to. Now, with the 50, if you are 50-year-old, you expect that you must have built a career back home where you're coming from. And building that career back home gives you a better understanding. You know that environment in your country, you're able to put your degree forward. However, you move into a new country gives you an opportunity to integrate the new society. However, the type of jobs you are looking at, you haven't built a profile, you haven't lived in that country. So they want to know where you last work. The recruiters will want to figure out where your last job, if it's from your own continent, then they want to see if that matches into the system. So it's completely different. So you begin to receive this thing of like, you start feeling like, okay, it's like I'm not qualified. So you start losing your mind gradually. So at 50, it's going to be very difficult for you to find that job, that dream job of yours that you intend to, that you've been planning, you've been dreaming about. So you get to an interview, they want to figure out what skills you're bringing in to understand, to fit into the system. So at 50, I know a lot of 50 years old who are having a lot of challenges to fit into the system. So I'm wondering, you coming in from outside, from another continent, another country, so they point out, coming to fit into it. So at 50, like I said, that your age is working against you, the residence permit issue, and also the jobs, the type of jobs that you're going to be applying for will be questionable in a way. So this is something very important you want to consider for planning to leave your country. The next thing you're going to focus on, that I'm going to give you an advice on, we're looking at here, is the culture shock. This one is huge. I mean, culture shock is huge. You will be shocked. It doesn't matter where you're coming from. If you move to Europe at 50, you will be shocked at the way things are done. So you have a certain way of doing things. The way things are being done in Europe, they have a kind of a structure. It's a system. So you have to fit yourself into that system. So that culture shock, the way things are processed, the way people are upfront, a lot of other things that you would experience, the weather alone, the food. Of course, now you find other tropical shops all over Europe. Of course, that's possible. You can figure out something, though it's extremely expensive. So you want to adapt yourself into the culture. The weather festival is going to challenge you because you're 50 years old and you're considering to get into a new environment. If you haven't traveled to Europe before, however, if you've been visiting Europe, that's something else. To visit and to stay, these are completely two things to point out. So while you are in, the European shock and European dream would kind of splash in your face, and you'll be like, wow, that the culture shock alone will wake you up. Different ways of doing things, different food, different interaction, kind of different people. So you have to really adapt yourself. You must be ready to sacrifice, to kind of sacrifice yourself in a way to be able to get to understand the culture. You want to understand the people, the way things are done, how you get to the offices, the people's reaction towards you. So it will be different. So the culture shock alone The food in particular, of course, you're going to find things that you're going to eat, no doubt. However, you will begin to adapt yourself gradually. Are you ready for all of this stress that you're going to go through? Can you fit that into your own budget? Can you be able to sit up strong to focus on these challenges? It's up to you. So before you make that move, you want to think about the culture shock. That is just so important. The next thing we're going to talk about here is emotional stress. This one is just so important that for those of you who are coming, like I said in previous videos, that Europe is not for the faint-hearted, and you must be emotionally strong to face the difficulties that you're going to be, that will fall on you. A lot of things will fall on you in Europe. You're going to make sure that you adjust yourself within the system. You have so many things coming up. Your bills, you have your rents coming up, you have your insurance coming up, you have your you have to eat, you have to move around, you have to travel, get to places. So you need a job to go around to do these things. Without a job, you can't just do anything, you know. Of course, with long-term living in Europe, you can do your own business, start your own businesses. Possibility about that. However, what I'm focusing on here is your mental strength, your emotional resilience. Are you able to fit into a new culture and a new system and stay strong? Are you able to interact really well with family members? Do you have friends? Do you have people you can meet and talk and kind of share your experience? Do you have connections? So Europe is also connection, so to point out. So this is also important. So you want to look at all of these things and find that if these are the things you are ready to go through for you to come to Europe. It is just not so easy, as it's always said. But if you consider these 6 things that I'm pointing out, it will help you, give you a better understanding so you can make an informed decision if Europe is the place you want to go. I hope this message drive through for those of you who are about 50 or in your 50s and you're considering moving with your family, with your children. Talk less of you come alone, you can battle things out, no doubt. However, if you're coming with your entire family, it's not going to be an easy situation. So you want to consider the residence permit. You want to consider your age, first of all, because you live in different culture. You also want to look at the jobs, the type of jobs you are looking at, you might come in. Something that I forgot, which is very important, the skill set. The skill set is so important. What skills are you bringing to Europe? Are you coming to Europe trying to come and learn things from? I mean, you can come in and go back to school to upgrade yourself. But before you do that, you want to come in with some basic skills. What profession do you have? Is this something that you can fit into? Because there are some professions that when you come to Europe, you still have to go back to school. I mean, if you come into Europe, there are some professions that you need to go back to school to upgrade yourself to fit into the system of that country. For example, like legal, the legal profession. So to point out, I think medical section as well. So you need to really come in and kind of fit into the system, the way things are done. So it's important to know what skills you bring in. If you have a strong IT skills, some kind of a strong marketing sales skills, business skills, investment, those kind of stuff, you don't need some kind of, you can just get in and then get the ball rolling, right? But if you are coming with zero skills, zero skills at your 50s, if you were just going to your office and you know how to log into your computer and do something, you can't just bring that, because there are millions of people who do the same thing here. So what special skills do you bring? What value are you coming up with to fit into the European dream? So thank you for watching. Hopefully we've informed you. For those of you who are planning to make this journey, we shall be looking forward to meeting you again in our next episode. Let us know if this video was helpful. Give us a like and share the video to your different networks. For now, we're looking forward to meeting you in our next episode, and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.